Hi, I'm Phoenix. I'm here for me on the 28th of December and for Lauren the 27th of December. Oh, the joys of time zones and trying to work things out. That's kind of one of the challenges that we have of getting together. I was supposed to get up a whole lot earlier, but obviously my body had a different idea about the whole thing, because then I woke up and it was 7 o'clock in the morning. It's like, oh, I missed the 5 o'clock session. All right. So I just want to say a Merry Christmas to all of you. I know all of you have had Christmas now, so I hope you had a wonderful one in your way, no matter whether or not you celebrated or not. For me personally, it's a time of family. It's a time of getting together. It's a time of love. In the Southern Hemisphere, for me, it's also the summer solstice, and over in the Northern Hemisphere, it's Yule. So that's a solstice. And I'm going to have to try both, the Yule one day when it's winter and cold instead of, well, for me, Yule is winter and cold, but it occurs in June, not in December. So I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas. And I'm Phoenix, so you all know me hopefully by now. And today we've got a few questions from a group that Lauren and I belong to, and based on these questions, we're going to provide you our particular thoughts on the matter. Feel free to discern, always discern what you get given. It's quite interesting. One of the messages that I received from the channeled beings that I work with is all about discerning the information that you receive from your what you consider a teacher or a tutor or a guru or a wisdom sharer. Make sure that whatever comes to you sits quietly within you, and determining whether or not it feels right for you, okay? Because everyone has a different path. Yes, sure, sometimes we're walking a similar path, but always do what's right for you. I've had experiences, Lauren's had experiences, and they may or may not be similar to the ones that you were going through, and they may or may not take you in a similar direction to where we're going. But the best thing that you can take on board when you listen to information is to determine, hey, that kind of feels really good. That feels right for me. Or, you know what, thank you for that information, but I'm just going to move on. In the last probably 25 years, that's been my dance. I've listened, I've learnt, and I've determined whether or not it's going to be something that's part of me or something that has been part of my journey. So without further ado, we'll start with the first question that is from Sadie. And she has asked, how do you remove a block? We all have this allowance, but yet our head can sometimes get in the way. And she basically asked, how do I remove a block when your consciousness is giving, permission, but your thoughts are saying otherwise? You're getting ready to receive, but there is nothing but your own thoughts. Now, can I just say that there is a beautiful dance that occurs between the human and the soul. Now, for me, and once again, discern, for me, the human starts at the head and also with our emotions. So if the human is saying, no, or be careful, or, are you sure, or are you making that up? I tend to bring it back because I listen to those, but I don't take stock in it, because our head is, and that brings me back to the initial statement of discerning what information you get, and that's including the information that you get from yourself. And that gets into a bit of a paradox. But anyway, if you allow your thoughts to settle with you and determine how they make you feel. Now, if they make you feel uplifted, if they make you feel empowered, if they make you feel passionate about doing something, then do it. However, if they make you feel fearful, and if they make you feel whether or not you're worthy or not, then you know, and I'm trying to get the parallels here from positive to not so positive. I don't like using the word negative, so we'll just go with negative then. So you have to weigh up the balance, and that's the duality of who we are. We are human, we are soul. We are a soul having a human experience, and because of that dance that we have between our human and our soul helps us decide, the journey, the experience, and what is important is how much you listen to these thoughts that are going through your head, because your thoughts create your reality. Your thoughts are an expression of what you see around you. Currently, right now, it looks rather chaotic, so I must have some chaotic thoughts right now, but that's post Christmas apocalyptic time. But allowing yourself the chance to just sit quietly with these thoughts and determine whether or not you want to give them any focus, determine whether or not you want to listen to it, and try and determine whether or not it's based on any past influence, whether or not it's past of your current lifetime or past from a previous lifetime. And yeah, therein lies the challenge. However, to simplify, which I'm constantly getting told is to simplify, is to go back to how things make you feel. If it makes you feel good, then do it. If it makes you feel bad, then you decide how long you want to stay in that space, and you decide whether or not you're going to give it any momentum in its progress. And that whole thing, Sadie, about putting things out into the universe and being ready and giving permission for the universe to provide, there are generally countermeasures that you are subconsciously putting out there through the thoughts that you are putting out there. So if you're having an epiphany and you want to do A, but your thoughts are going, well, no, you need to do B. It's that sitting down, simplifying, determining how both things make you feel, and determining which part is going to get the momentum, whether or not it's the thoughts of going one direction or the flow of going the other direction, because your thoughts, and they will create you have a powerful mind, and it will create the very things around you. It will generate the things that are either A, teaching you, B, showing you, and C, directing you to go into. So just simplify things. Say, this is my thoughts. Just simplify things and determining how they make you feel. And although you consciously want and give permission about something, you really have to look at the countermeasures as to what your thoughts are doing. Do they match your conscious desire? If your subconscious doesn't, then you have to determine how they can compromise. Because people say, oh, let go of the ego, don't listen to it, blah blah blah. But the thing is, though, it's there for a reason. It's who you are. It defines the human in you, and so the human and the soul need to work together. I'm not one of these people that say just, don't listen to your ego and mind. You have to compromise, and you have to determine an agreement between your hidden desires, your known desires, and the thoughts that can generate from your head. So that's my thoughts. What do you think, Lauren?
Okay. Well, I actually want to answer this question from two different perspectives. My first initial thoughts were, are you sure that it's just your own thoughts? Because a lot of times we set up expectations and think, well, if it's really spirit talking to me, or if I'm really getting stuff, then it would be in a different voice, or it would be a certain way. And maybe some of these thoughts, like spirit, at least for me, and I know a lot of other people, will give you thoughts about answers to your questions. And so if these thoughts are repetitive, do they come out of kind of nowhere, or are you if you're in a thought pattern already, and then it probably is your own thoughts. But if these thoughts kind of pop in your head out of nowhere, you weren't thinking about the subject or whatever before, maybe take a listen to that and focus on those thoughts and how they make you feel. Again, if you have expectations of how you should be receiving the information, that might be getting in your way as well. The other side to that for me is that we say we're ready. Consciously, we say we're ready, but a lot of times, spirit knows, our guides know, our angels know what we're really truly ready for. So a couple years ago, I said, no, I want to be able to see spirit. I want to be able to speak. I want to hear, blah, blah, blah. But I knew then, looking back now, because hindsight is always 20/20, that I wasn't ready for that now. There was a lot I had to learn, a lot I had to go through. So if you're expecting things to come in a certain way to you, then maybe, and you're saying, yes, I'm consciously allowing, maybe spirit knows you a little bit better. Maybe your subconscious isn't quite ready to receive in the way that you are saying that you want to receive. Allow yourself a little bit more patience to receive in more subtle ways, and then information will probably flow faster to you, and you'll learn to get the difference between what really is from spirit and from your soul, and what is your own ego thoughts. You know, a lot of times when we're first starting out and learning to trust our intuition, it's those subtleties that we have to learn to discern and distinguish before we are ready to I don't know, just trust in ourselves and trust in spirit more, to really believe and trust in the answers that we're given. So hopefully that makes sense. Again, just really look and understand, try to discern, are they your ego thoughts, or are you really getting some messages there? Are they repetitive? Do they come to you at different parts of the day? So those might be answers to your questions. Hopefully that cleared some things up for you, and you know, that helps. So I'm going to move on to the next question, and this question is from Donna, and she asks, excuse me while I read. Oh, Phoenix, you are. Is there anything you wanted to say before I moved on to the next question?
No, that's perfect. I just have to, sorry, I have to apologize today. My house is very busy, so I'll be coming and going.
I'm lucky. I have a quiet house today, so you might hear the occasional dog bark, but I think it's the same with you. All right, so this next question is from Donna. Knowing the difference between your own thoughts and spirit messages, kind of really what we focused on, right? When the thoughts, for me, and I know for a lot of other people, when the thoughts are either repetitive, when they're loving. So if anything sounds condescending, if it sounds overly stern, if it sounds critical, if it's not said, if you're not hearing it in a more loving, I'm not saying spirit can't be firm or tell you what you need to hear, but if it's done in a condescending manner or a critical, overly critical manner, those are not your thoughts. That's not spirit. That's usually coming from ego. A lot of times. So if they are encouraging, if they are uplifting, those thoughts are usually the ones that are from spirit. And again, if you're hearing particular things, and I say hearing, thoughts, you know, however you perceive, usually they're repetitive. They'll just pop in your head kind of out of nowhere. So you may be thinking about doing the dishes, and then all of a sudden a thought will come to you. And if it's an inspired thought, I'm not talking about like, oh, after the dishes I have to clean up after the kids, but you know, if it's an inspired thought or something that just seemingly comes out of nowhere, you think about somebody in particular, then you know it's usually from spirit or your intuition speaking. An easy way to practice this, I think, is sometimes when the phone rings, pay attention. You can usually get, if a person pops in your head and within a few minutes they're either calling, texting, something like that from you, then you know that that's your intuition speaking, and it really is that subtle. So you're getting these things, but you think they're your own thoughts, and you say, what a coincidence, you know, I was just thinking about you. But oftentimes it's not just a coincidence. You're really like, especially if you're opening up and you're practicing using your intuition, those things will come to you. So practice with the phone, practice with seeing what your child is going to come down the stairs with, toy, you know, what do you think they're going to come down the stairs with? Your friend that you're meeting for lunch, try to think about what color shirt that person is wearing. These are easy ways to pick up how your mind works and how it gives you information. Is it going to, do you hear blue, or do you see a blue shirt in your mind? Are you correct? So things like that are little simple ways that you can practice to learn to discern what are your own thoughts and what's intuition. But really, again, it's about the subtleties, especially at first, until you learn to trust yourself more and your guides more and your higher self more. Anything else?
Well, I'm going to take this a little bit differently, and it's great that I think we work very well together, but that's just me. everything is energy, right? And from the day you were born, you've got used to your own energy. And it has changed. Energy changes as well. That's the other thing. Everything is on a constant motion, a constant movement. Everything and everybody that you come in contact with, you know, in life as human beings, was a human being, there's an energy exchange, so to speak. And as intuitive people, and we're all intuitive, whether or not we realize it or not, but as intuitive people, we have certain feelings, we have certain responses to varied energies in the form of people that we come in contact with. All right. Now you can go back to the experiences that you've had with people that on first meeting them, you think, oh, and there's something not quite right about them, and you don't know why, because you've never met them before. And then you can meet somebody else who's like, wow, I feel like I'm talking to a long lost sister or a brother that I haven't ever come in contact with before. It just clicks. It just feels right. For an example, like I met my biological siblings for the first time about 11 years ago. And on meeting them, it felt like I had been part of their group, the sibling group, all my life, you know. And obviously we have been together before in some way, shape or form from a different perspective and a different life. And it felt right. It felt like family. It felt correct. The same can be done with spirit, because they are energy as well, and they have a significant energy field depending on what type of frequency that they are currently at. Now, frequency is not hierarchical. It's not higher, lower. I mean, we do say higher frequency, lower frequency, just to make it make sense for us up here, okay? So I will use those terms, but it's not hierarchical. When I say higher, lower, they're not better than, they're not less than, they are just. So I don't know if you've ever, Donna, met or felt spirit, whether or not they're spirits of ancestors, spirits of past loved ones, spirits of angels or energies of angels, or your totem animal, the energy that they feel. They all have a significant frequency range that, depending on what you're connecting with, as to how you will respond to it. I know when I've worked with the various 12 in my channeling group, they're called Chiron, that there are about 6 that it's easier. It's like talking with Lauren, it's like talking with you. But then there are others where I have had to change my own frequency state, which was very challenging, by the way. But I did it just to be able to connect to 2 others. They were very, very different. They were on a different whole other plane, and that's okay. It was an interesting experience and a very enjoyable one, but not one that I'd probably do very often, because it took me out of my own space. I could feel a shift within me that I stopped connecting to a source the way I usually do. I only connect to these particular members of the Chiron group, but they have a significant feeling. When I remember about 17 years ago now, when I was in my own sacred space, and I wanted to know my purpose. You know, I'm quite lucky, really. I can cheat. I wanted to know my purpose, and Archangel Gabriel came, and huge, vast. It was very overwhelming. My whole body felt hot, and everything was expansive, and even the way she filled the room was huge. And she said that I would, and she just said one word, and she just said teach. And it's like, I just laughed in her face. It's like, what am I going to teach? 17 years later, here I am. But the thing is, though, and even if you commune with God, you know, or Jesus, or whoever you work with, Buddha, they all have a significant frequency range, so they can communicate with you. But the thing is, though, when you're communicating with these energies, you have to alter aspects of yourself so you can do so. There has to be an agreement. You'll come to a range, and it will be a range, because this is, I don't know about you, and feel free to discern, but I don't think I could ever get to the same frequency as Archangel Gabriel or God or whatever. But they managed to, in that range, we managed to, I'm at the lower end and they're at the up end. Once again, not hierarchical, but if you know what I mean, frequency range. Oh, sorry. It's rubbish time. And it's coming together to be able to communicate in your way. So there's a certain shift that occurs within you, and you do feel different. Even when I'm working with the cards and connecting with the tarot cards or oracle cards or whatever you prefer to work with, connecting with others, I feel, for me, and I call it a communication click. And it's when you feel that wave of, and this is how it is for me, it may be different for you. Some people may feel your third eye getting throbbing. Other people might feel their hands getting hot, especially if they're doing healing work, because once again, something's communicating through you to provide the healing that you need. But I feel a wave of energy that surges through me, and allowing that connection. Sorry. I'm just going to mute and let you take over to the next question.
I can continue. I kind of know it. So I think what Phoenix is saying, and I can identify a little bit because I also do channeling. And when I feel either a heart expanding, when you feel a vibration moving through you, everybody will feel it a little bit differently. But you will get a sensation that tells you that there is spirit nearby. And she's right, they are higher vibrations. Again, it's not a hierarchy type of thing, but they do have to lower their vibration in order to kind of meet ours, and we have to lift our vibration in order to be able to get a better communication. And so when we're in a high vibrational state, then communication comes a little bit easier. I know for me that a lot of times I can, I just like Phoenix was saying, I can either feel it in my entire body, like a wave go through you, or big heart expanding. Like my heart will almost feel like it's going to pop out of my chest, but not in a negative, way. Almost like that feeling when you're just on a roller coaster and you're about to drop down, it's usually quite exhilarating. Your pulse might go a little bit faster, but again, when you're in a higher vibrational state, then spirit can meet you a little bit better. They can lower enough to meet your vibration, and communication can become clearer. So I think, hopefully I finished your thoughts, or I was on the same track as you. Okay, good.
Yeah, that was sorry about that. That was perfect. That's exactly what I was saying, and it was all about how, and it's going to be different for everybody. So don't compare yourself to my experience or Lauren's experience. You will feel something. Don't expect to feel the wave, like I said, or don't expect to feel the high frequency that Lauren, or anything that Lauren said. You will feel it your way. So it's you'll have to start listening to your physical body, Donna, and you have to start because your own thoughts they're your own, that they're something that you've had since and grown into since birth, so they will feel very familiar. Spirit's messages and spirit energy or source energy will feel different or external to you, only because you have to get yourself into a different sort of shift to be able to communicate with them in your way, no matter. And hey, you may not notice anything when spirit comes to you. As I said, everybody is different as to how their experiences are. So, but knowing the difference between your own thoughts that are familiar and spirit messages is because you know yourself the best. And Lauren said it very, very well at the start. Nothing from source. Nothing from source. Can I stress this immensely? Will ever tell you anything bad, ever,
right.
Unless you manage to connect with something that you shouldn't have, and that's when your shields should go up, and then you should develop a phoenix response and come out with your fire blazing, and everything is your space. Everything, whatever is around you is something that you have introduced into your life, okay? And you can easily extradite them. So always know your power when it comes to source. You can never give your power away. And so if you're feeling something and it's negative, then you make it go away, and you do so with fire. I'm just talking from my experience. You may, if you're an air sign, you may use a tornado or whatever you need to use. hey, this is my space, get out. I'm not usually that polite, but that's generally the way it goes.
Interesting. So, you should do a session just on that alone. For some reason, I think, yeah, that's something really interesting, discerning different ways of, because you remember Phoenix for a long time has been helping me with my intuition and channeling, and I was nervous at first, really, and she taught me some really good tools to use and empowerment when it comes to things like that. So if anybody's interested in hearing more about that, leave comments. Maybe we'll explore that in another session.
Yeah, no, that's definitely on the to-do list.
Yeah.
Because I know it's something that does come up quite frequently about how to gain your own power, your own control, and what you allow and what you don't allow, and negative and positive. And I know that there are a lot of fears around the things that you may be exposed to. Like, I've seen a few things, but there is absolutely no way that I will, one, allow it to affect my family, and two, allow it to affect me. So remembering your power and knowing who you are and being comfortable with who you are and believing in yourself is the big thing. But like Lauren said, this is something that we may end up doing a whole session for, which we will put the questions out there in the not too distant future. We've still got a few things to finish here, but that's okay.
Getting a little ahead of myself.
No. Put that down on the to-do list, Lauren. Okay. All right. So we'll go to the next question from Jude, and Jude is she's got two big questions, which I don't think we're going to answer it fully for you today. Because one, she was wondering how she can communicate with her spirit guides, which is one little session, a whole session that we could do, and one, knowing what your true calling is. And I think we kind of covered that in the last session, or the second to last session, about knowing your purpose, knowing where you're supposed to go, and that is all about following your passion, following the things that you enjoy, taking a look around, because everything is in plain sight, giving you the answers that you need, Jude, believing that no matter what you do is right for that particular moment. If we all get caught up on seeking our purpose, seeking our true calling, we forget to live, and that essentially is the biggest thing that you have to do here in your human incarnation, is to experience life the best way that you can. And if you happen to find some purpose in that life, then that's awesome. But the main reason why you are here is to experience, and your guides that you're talking about will be providing the opportunities for you to do so. So remembering that you are not separate, that you are not individual, that your guides are going to bring things into your life to trip you up or whack you over the head with a 4x2, or you ease gently into it and you go, oh wow, this is awesome, I'm gonna follow this and see where this takes me. Now, whether or not you know your spirit guides, you can always communicate with them. The way to get to know them, though, is either through dream state, meditation state, auto writing. All you have to do is start talking. You may not necessarily hear anything back, but you will get a feeling. And as the relationship, so as you meet anything new, especially if you haven't met your spirit guides before, like meeting a new person, you have to build the relationship. It's just, although they know you inside and out, you don't know anything about them. And when you don't know someone, you're hesitant to trust, you're hesitant to communicate, you're hesitant to go forward and believe what they say. So really the relationship building starts from your side, because they've already got that understanding of who you are and why they're there. So the best thing to do is, when you notice something or you get a sense of a message, you say, oh, thanks for telling me that. You do feel a little bit crazy sometimes when oh, that's right, I should have listened to you. You just start building up a a relationship based around trust. And when you trust your spirit guides, it's a lot easier to allow them, because I've been told recently by many people that I have to let source take the reins a little bit instead of me take control. Telling that to a Gemini is a fun thing to tell, but or even to me, it's like, all right then. And it's quite interesting because now people are coming to me with certain ideas, and it's like, wow, that's really awesome, I'm for it. But yeah, just trust that if you can, that dance between the ego mind and the heart, is that if it makes you feel good, if it excites you, then go for it. It'll be part of the reason why you're here, and part of the reason why you're here can equal your purpose, or can equal your true calling. So anything that excites and lights the fire within you, then follow it. But Jude, you've really asked two really big questions, especially about communicating with your spirit guides, because and you can probably listen to the last things we've just talked about for Donna and Sadie, is determining your own way of communication. Everyone is different. Communication comes naturally for Geminis, doesn't it, Lauren? But But there are two sides to communication. There is what you say and how you listen. And if you're listening to try and fix something, then you're not really listening. You're not even listening to the words that are being said. So you have to determine how you communicate. If you are an observer, because I am an observer as well, because I've learned to be an observer, because you learn so much by observing. But also communication is about listening, and also about being in that moment with the energy or with the person that you're communicating with. Now, because I'm comfortable in speaking is obviously well, I never used to be. I used to be quite scared of talking, but that was many years ago. It's long gone. But it's establishing how you communicate. So take a look at how you communicate with the people around you. Are you an observer? Are you a person that takes over the conversation and just keeps talking? Are you quiet and you just listen? There is one aspect of that communication experience that you're very, very good at, and that is the way that you can start off communicating with your spirit guides, is by, if you are a talker, then you may find that they'll start talking to you, and you may think it's your inner voice, and it might be, you could be part of your spirit guides that are giving information. That becomes a bit of a paradox, but that's beside the point. And also, if you are a listener, once again, you may hear certain things, or if you're an intuitive communicator, when you're just listening and you get all these images, like, and it's quite interesting. Don't quite know where that came from. Thank you, Sharon, probably. But the intuitive communicator with me, when I am with people, I get flashes of images. I get mind movies. I don't know if you've ever experienced that, Jude, is when you're listening to somebody and you can actually see from what they're saying the event as it happens. You can see it in a mind movie, and it's a fascinating experience. And that's how it's how my people communicate with me, as they give me flashes of images. And that's definitely how it started, the flashes of images, before I could start hearing them. So obviously I'm a visual. I've always said I'm a visual person, but so that's how they talk to me. So there's two ways of determining how to talk to your spirit guides. Is one, work out how you communicate, full stop, and two, just building up that relationship with your spirit guides. So that's a simple answer that I can give for a very complex question. And as for knowing your true calling, as following your passion, I can't stress that enough. People say, oh wow, Phoenix, how do you find time to do everything that you do? Oh my God, I just wish there was more hours in the day, because and this, what I do with Lauren, I actually get quite frustrated because I would love to do this like every day, but as you see with my family, it can be a challenge. So I have to work around that, and I will make it happen because it's what I enjoy. It's what I love doing, and it's not a job. It's not work. I don't find it difficult. It just comes ever so naturally, and it lifts me up, you know. And anything that you find yourself in, Jude, that lifts you up is part of your purpose, is part of your true calling, as you've called it. So start observing, start listening, start taking on board everything that is around you, because everything is in plain sight. So Lauren, your turn. Tag.
Okay. So this whole time I've been really called to push what seems like a message I keep repeating, or, you know, if you've watched the other videos, you've heard me say this before, but it's really learning at first to know the subtle differences, subtleties. So if we have these preconceived notions or ideas about how we're supposed to hear our spirit guides, well, and we think that maybe, well, Phoenix can hear them and she can write it down and she must know that there's an exact difference. It's almost, especially at first, we expect it to be as easy as a conversation we would have over the phone. But, you know, sometimes our ego mind, you know, it's a transmitter. So you hear that there's some static there, and it takes a moment until we start noticing the little things, the little ways that we're already receiving messages, because we're already receiving all the time. Our guides are usually always trying to help us, you know, and so it really becomes a part about, I'm not, you know, quieting the mind. I'm not saying we have to go into a complete state of Zen where, you know, meditation and we don't feel in our bodies, you know, it doesn't have to be as extreme or as far as we think it is. It really is about how you feel. You know, a lot of times guides will give us feelings about things, or just thoughts. So you'll see things repetitive in things you're reading or seeing or listening to other people's conversations, and those are pretty typical tips on how to hear your guides and answers and intuition. But that's really, you know, how it goes. You know, we would love it if they could just come appear before us and give us all the answers that we needed, right? Wouldn't it be great? But then we wouldn't have that free will and working with that ego part of us to learn and be able to, you know, trust ourselves. It really is coming to fully trust ourselves and trust spirit. Because sometimes I know some of you can identify with this, even when we get a message that seems like, wow, that it can't be more clear, or that's too much of a coincidence, we're still questioning it. We still say, is that really right though? No, I need a more solid answer. And I can torture myself with this so many times, it's not even funny. And then again, hindsight is always 20/20. So I'm always looking back and saying, okay, well, I learned, I didn't listen. They kept putting it out there. I didn't listen, but now I know, okay, when I hear things 3 times, that's meant for me. You know, that's my way. That's how my guides talk to me. And you will find your way of how they communicate with you. And as you get better with receiving their signals, the communication will come easier. You'll learn ways of how your team communicates with you better and how you communicate with them. So it's all in the subtleties, and we want it so fast, and we want it a certain way, but and we think it should be so obvious. Well, I'm not intuitive if I can't hear them specifically and know exactly what they're saying. It just really is a process, and the more that you can trust yourself and act on the message that you receive, then the better the better you'll make that communication. And not being afraid to mess up, you know, taking action even with small things on your intuition. When your guides, when your spirit team knows that you're following their guidance, or at least they will get you on the right track. And it's always hindsight. It's always when you look back that you say, ah, that was spirit helping me out. I thought so, I wasn't sure, but now I know. You know, so it's really that type of process that gets you to where, you know, where you think you should be as far as hearing your guides. And So that's what I have to say about that, about your spiritual guides. Be patient with yourself, trust yourself, because if you make a mistake, so what? If you'll get the message that it was a mistake, and so you'll be able then to turn around and say, okay, well, that was not right. I have another option to me. You know, that nothing is ever permanent. If you make a mistake, we all make mistakes daily. You know, we adjust, and spirit will help us adjust. You have to trust yourself and trust them. And sometimes we're made to make a mistake because we have a lesson to learn out of it. You know, if we make that mistake, it's because we have something to learn from it, you know. A lot easier to say than to deal with, but you know, I do know that you know, that's how it goes. That's why we have that ego. That's why we're having this human experience, is to learn those lessons. And we can make it really easy on ourselves, or we can make it harder. It really is up to us. And as far as your true calling, I'm going to go back to what I said, I think in the first session it was, where, you know, we think specifically we have a true calling, like I should be in this place doing this type of work. You know, it can be, for some people, maybe it is, maybe they came with a specific, but for the most of us, it can come through different forms. So if our purpose is to teach, you know, Phoenix has chosen this method to teach, you know, through social media and through video and working with others. She could be in a school somewhere teaching at one of these, you know, psychic schools there is in an actual classroom setting. So, or she could be doing something, whatever it is, she's still teaching. She'll still try her calling. She has a passion for that. And the same thing here. So don't think in terms of what I specifically should be doing. What do you love to do? And even if it's not your main job right now, say you have a job you're not really, you know, that happy with, you know, I think a lot of us have been there or are there. It can be done on the side or doing something else. Maybe it's volunteer work. Maybe it's, you know, whatever it is for you, it has to have that feeling like you're lost in it. Your mind is not completely going. When you're doing something you love and doing something that is your true calling, you're not thinking about it while you're doing it. You're just doing it. And I hope that makes sense. I really do, because sometimes we'll be we'll be doing something and we can't wait for it to be over, or we're overanalyzing it, and but when we're doing something we love, there's almost no thinking about it. Even when we run into a problem, we just kind of keep going. And that's how you know when something is your passion or that you're doing something that you love. So take some time and write down. Look back and write down, when were there times in your life that you really loved what you were doing and you didn't even have to think about it. That time seemed to go by so quickly that when it was over, it felt like no time had passed at all. Those things will give you clues to what your purpose, calling, your passion is. And that's what I have to say about that.
Well, we got the next question. It's very good, Lauren. I'm nodding away. I love listening to people, and I'm just going noddy, noddy, noddy. Anyway, the next question by Mindy is, I'm just going to read it. Why is it that when I hear from a guides, and it's really interesting, and if you look at the synchronicity of how these questions have all formulated. I mean, I did it all in order, and I blocked it into groups of 6. And honestly, the theme for each of them are amazing, and they just stay the same. It's fantastic. Anyway, I just thought I'd put that out there. Just letting you know the synchronicities of life and how it all works. She asked, why is it that what I hear from my guides, my twin flame and other spiritual connections, that they come in her own voice and speech? They sound like Mindy. And because of this, she doubts so much, because she figures that it's her own thoughts and her hopes and her wants, etc., and not really anything else. It's very, very interesting, this process. But what happens is, because this, especially if you're moving into something new, and it's coming from spirit or it's coming from source, they don't want to scare you. They don't want to fill you up with fear. I remember one person is saying, oh, I wish I could see spirit fully, you know, like a full apparition. It's like, well, what do you think would happen if you saw this spiritual apparition? and they said, oh, I'd be scared out of my brain, I'd just run a mile. And it's like, well, there you go. That's why they're not presenting themselves to you in a spiritual, in a full form, because it will scare you. So they don't want to scare you. They want to keep you receptive to the information that they're providing for you. Now, if you think about it, Mindy, what is the most common sound that is in your life? And that would be, even the one that's the most safest, that would be your voice. Your voice is what you hear all the time when you speak. And of course, Spirit would see that, or Source will see that as something that you are obviously safe with, because it's something that you're used to. It's something that shouldn't frighten you out of a receptive state, even though your thoughts are kicking in and go, hey, I'm just making this up. The thing is, though, Source wants you to know that they don't want to scare you. They just want to allow the process in a gentle way. Now, I don't know if you've heard other voices in any way, shape, or form. Just think back, Mindy, of any times where you've heard a Source voice or a sound or whatever, and what was your response? Now, if your response for all of these experiences that you've had that isn't your voice is fear, and you've run away, and oh my God, I go, wow, what's this? Like, oh, that's just taken me out of the receptive state, I'm moving along. Then Source is trying a different, and if that's the case, Source is trying a different way to communicate with you, with something that you are comfortable with. So, and even now you're questioning that. So Mindy, ask yourself whether or not you are comfortable with hearing things, but because obviously it's one of your strengths, because you're hearing it. And the other question is, how are you hearing it? Are you hearing it out there, or are you hearing it? And it's hard to describe. I don't know if you know where your pineal gland is, but if you if you cut your head in half, and that way, the pineal gland is right slap bang in the middle. That is generally where I hear things. Or if it's a past loved one, I tend to hear it in a different area, because they're trying to this is my communication agreement. They tend to let me know where they fit with my client, whether or not they're on the paternal side or maternal side, or how close they are. But that's just me personally. That's how they communicate with me. But if it's somebody new and Chiron, they definitely talk in the middle of my brain rather than my ears. But of course, when you have hearing, when it's stereophonic, it will feel like in the middle anyway. So it does feel like it's coming from your ears. So, but that's you might need to ask yourself, Mindy, as to why, one, they are talking to you in your voice, and also, oh gosh, I can hear my, and two, have I created this situation to have this experience? And the fact that you're hearing it in your own voice is common, especially when it's that inner voice. It's something that starts off with most of us, is that inner voice. It does come in our own tone, in our own the way we speak, because it's what we're comfortable with. It's what we know. It's what we listen to every time you speak. So especially when you're moving into the new aspect of communication with Source or Spirit or whoever, they will talk to you through something that you're most comfortable with. So there's a bit of a twofold thing for my challenge to you, and I will challenge people, because that's part of my reason why I'm here, is to take responsibility, help you to take responsibility for the situations that you're finding yourself in. So if you don't want to hear things in your own voice, then ask yourself, are you going to be comfortable if you hear it in something else? And if the answer is no, then that is the reason, and that is the reason why that you're hearing it mostly in your own voice. But if the answer is yes, then sit back and watch, and then try and breathe it down when you start hearing things differently. But that's just my thoughts. Feel free to discern, and I'm going to leave that with Lauren now.
Okay, I'm gonna. I think I agree with what you said completely, and there's one thing I picked up about your question, and it says, I doubt so much because I figure it's my own thoughts, hopes, wants, etc., and not really anything else. And you mentioned your guides and twin flame. So I want to kind of put out there a little bit that I don't know how to word this correctly, and if you see where I'm going, Phoenix, feel free to step in. But you know, when you said the wants and everything, if the messages seem to be like, well, like otherworldly, like not practical for your life right now too, and not something that you really resonate with or see for yourself in this reality or in your now, maybe it is like your own thoughts, like trying to escape maybe what you need to do. And I don't want to be that, like I'm saying, well, don't trust that. I just want to be careful that you know, that the thoughts that you're receiving, that you're listening to, you'll know if, you know, spirit guides, they give us more practical things for us to work on kind of now, like what our next steps are. They don't really go off and say, in 5 years you will meet the love of your life and you'll be forever happy. Like they don't go all grandiose usually. So if it seems out of the realm of reality and what resonates with you right now, perhaps it's your own thoughts and ego. But if it sounds more practical and it sounds really true and it sounds like and the direction that you want to go and you feel like you want to go, then those are maybe thoughts that they are sending you. And Phoenix is right. When you, if hearing is your natural ability, then the more that you can quiet down and focus and get into a place where you're only listening and you're listening to the very minute sounds that you hear around you, it might start to come in a little bit differently for you. But again, always check back with your heart. Make sure that what you're hearing, those thoughts and everything, resonate and send you in a positive direction. And if so, then, you know, I believe that those are thoughts that you can follow and act on. Anything to add, or maybe you can clarify for me, Phoenix, because I'm not sure I got my point across really well.
my kid and my dog are in the back, so hopefully not too loud. One of the good things, and where was I going with this? Oh no, it's gone. My children are putting me off my one of the things I remember listening to when I was listening to one of the Bashar, I don't know if you know who Bashar is. It was Daryl Anka who channels Bashar. He's an energy that provides wonderful information. And Daryl Anka, who channels him, was basically talking about, you know what, origin of message is irrelevant. It's the message itself that you need to listen to. So I thought, wow, that's pretty jolly cool. And like when Sharon came into me, came into my life, and I, because my brain is quite logical, I will admit to that, and I wondered whether, or are they good or bad? They made me fantastic. Every time I connect with them, I get a healing. It's just a wonderful experience. So I knew they were they were there for my higher purpose. It wasn't anything bad. So, but then someone says, well, where do they come from? And, you know, I had worked for them for about a year before someone asked me, well, where do they come from? It's like, I don't know. And I honestly, and then when I heard Daryl Anka say that origin is not important. It's the message itself. If the message itself is positive and wants you to move forward, then listen to the message. And another thing that Daryl said is that whether or not it's coming from me, you know, like me, Phoenix, or if it's coming from my higher self, or if it's coming from a group of beings that are working with me from a different area, it's the message that we need to listen to. So if what you are hearing, as Lauren says, if it's positive and it's taking you on a forward growth expansion, then listen to it. Origin is irrelevant. It's how it's making you feel, and if it's making you feel excited and making you feel like you can do, then do it. So the challenge for you, Mindy, is for you to switch off those thoughts that are telling you otherwise. So that is pretty much that I would recommend for you, is to experience with a positive outlook and know that whatever comes to you, and that you have the power that to whatever comes to you is going to be for your higher purpose, especially if it makes you feel good. And follow through with it. Origin is irrelevant, even if it's coming from you, even if it's coming from our imaginations. Everything that we are doing, even if we, with the readings that I do and the messages that come from me, even if it's from up here, who cares? As long as the message sits with you and it feels great and it takes you on a positive path, then go for it. Don't get so concerned about origin. Just listen to the message, because if you're getting more concerned about origin of the message and if it's you or your imagination or whatever, then you're not listening to the message. You forget to hear what is being told, and it may be from you, but who cares? It's wonderful if we are able to teach ourselves, and it could be from you. You may have the future you talking to your current you. Or the more aware you are. I don't know. That's when you get into the whole time paradox, and I'm not going there. So do you have anything more to say, Lauren, to this and to this session?
No, yeah, I completely agree. If it feels good and it feels in a direction, then you should follow it. If it feels crazy or then and it doesn't resonate with you, then again, like Phoenix was talking about right at the beginning, discernment, what feels right for you. So, and that's it.
So I hope you've enjoyed this particular session. We'll be sharing this very shortly. And thank you for watching us yet again. We're hoping to do this on a regular basis as time allows, and as family allows for me and Lauren. So thank you for coming again. I hope you've taken on board something that really works for you and is taking you further in your journey, and that is essentially my intent for any kind of information that flows through me, is that it's there for your highest good, to take you on a bigger and better journey of your choosing. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.